Hello, everyone, and welcome to Nerding Out on Neurodiversity, the podcast for all things neurodivergence. I'm Dr. Matt Zakreski, clinical psychologist and professional speaker, and I'm happy to be your host through the wild trails of the neurodivergent world.
And I'm Jake Noonan, educational coach and humanities teacher, your co-host and producer, and I'm thrilled to help share the stories and the experiences of wonderful people in the world of neurodiversity.
We're really excited for today's guest, which we are going to say a lot because we're always really excited about every guest we get. So let's get into it. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Nerding Out on Neurodiversity. I'm your host, Dr. Matt Zakreski, clinical psychologist, published author, wearer of many hats, professional speaker. I have a knowledge of excellent craft beer. And with me, as always, is the Barney Rubble to my Fred Flintstone, Mr. Jake Noonan. Say hi, Jake.
Hey, everybody. Great to be here, as always. That was a very deep throwback for me because I think I watched the Flintstones maybe when I was like 4 or 5.
My mom hated for me to watch the Flintstones because I had such a strong sense of justice as a kid that when Fred gets locked out in the credits, I would get upset. I'd be like, it's not fair. That was probably one of the first signs my mom was like, oh, my kids wired a little differently.
Strong sense of justice? Never.
Yeah, us never. So we're going to open this up we're going to start treading in like a very minefieldy part of the neurodivergent world. We're going to talk about sports for a second. I love sports. I specifically love college basketball. And one of my favorite college basketball players of all time was a player named Kevin Love. And I just love the way he played the game because like he was really good at rebounding. And that was like the only thing I was good at basketball. Fast forward many years, Kevin Love plays for the Timberwolves. He gets traded to the Cavs. He wins a championship. And then all of a sudden, I remember he was leading SportsCenter and I didn't know why. And he was just openly talking about his mental health. And I thought, wait a second, wait a second. I already loved this guy. And now he's being a vulnerable advocate for mental health in athletes. I'm like, this is amazing. So I did what I always do, which is like Google, find, well, there's a whole foundation. I'm going to reach out to these people. And I connected with their incredible team. And then I said, well, now that we have a podcast, let's bring them on. Let's talk about this. So we have two amazing guests from the Kevin Love Foundation with us. We have Sarah and Ellie. Would you guys like to introduce yourselves?
Sure, absolutely. First of all, Dr. Matt, thank you so much for having us. I think you're hired. I love the way you described Kevin. So please come be on our team too. I feel very honored to have been brought to the Kevin Love Fund. My background was in teaching and school counseling, like human development studies. And I had run a nonprofit in Los Angeles for over a decade. And through our executive director, I had already worked with her. And so she had told me this great work that Kevin was doing. And I knew that Ellie Foster was the person to bring on because we had been friends and colleagues in Colorado. And I knew we're all kind of all over the country in the Kevin Love Fund. And I knew she'd be the perfect person to bring on board. And the two of us sat down with Kevin and created this fund. And Ellie, I'll let you introduce yourself as well.
Well, I just want to start by saying what an honor it is to be on your podcast. This is a topic that I care about deeply. And so I'm so glad just to be involved, truly. Like Sarah, I was a classroom teacher for many years. I taught in Wisconsin. And I was seeing in my own classroom what I think a lot of educators see, which is that students need more than just the academic content that they're getting, that they could really benefit from skills and tools and practices that will support well-being and their mental health. And so I actually left my teaching position and I went to get a PhD at the University of Colorado. I joined a larger team of researchers that was exploring this question of what can we do to help students to feel comfortable and safe talking about mental health in schools. And so a piece of that research is threaded into the program that we wrote as a part of the team at Kevin Love. And it's been an honor, I'll just echo Sarah, it's an honor to be part of this team because I think with Kevin as our leader, he's someone that really lives these values of vulnerability, of prioritizing mental health, of increasing access. When I think about what you were saying about your Flintstone experience, like we at the fund really care about increasing access to these mental health skills and tools. So it's been truly an honor to be a member of the fund and an honor to be on your podcast today, Dr. Matt.
Well, I mean, I can see why Sarah reached out to you. I'm like, of course, like Ellie is just really good at all these things.
We're a great team. Sarah and I are a great team. We have the same mind, but also in some ways different. We're a good complement to each other.
I don't feel that way about Jake at all.
Not even close.
I love you, buddy.
Love you too.
So why don't we start by level setting here and like tell us like what's the mission of the Kevin Lund Fund? What's your role in that? What's the one pager?
Okay, we'll just take turns and go back and forth. I would say that what brought both Ellie and I to this work and what inspired us so much to join Kevin is his vulnerability. Like you said in your introduction, Dr. Matt, he had this platform. And many years ago, I believe it was in 2017, 2018, when he had his panic attack, he could have kind of hidden from what the real issue was and put a PR spin on it or said it was a physical ailment, which was very accepted at that time. But he kind of decided he wanted to be the change he wished to see in the world. And he decided to use his fame and his platform and model vulnerability and explain what he was actually going through. I know he did do this to help other kids, but I don't think he realized what an impact he would have. He felt like had he received more support in this realm in middle school and high school, things wouldn't have built up to the way they did. And so he wanted to kind of go back and fix that. But what he did instead is almost create this movement and become one of the early leaders of mental health advocacy in professional sports. And so he published his story, battling anxiety and depression, which led to this kind of very public panic attack during a nationally televised game. And he published that in the Players Tribune. And the outpouring of support that he got from that inspired him to come together with us as experts in education. And we brought in scientific advisors, experts in mental health. And we all kind of sat around the table and discussed what we thought should be mandatory learning originally for middle schools and high schools. And now we have elementary schools and colleges and adult programs. So we all just thought if these lessons were taught in teenage years, when kids are figuring out who they are, it will be so beneficial to them. And that's what he was able to create. Luckily, we got to come along for the ride and help write the lessons that delivered these psychology nuggets.
I mean, I remember it was right after I connected with you guys originally. I was watching Ted Lasso with my wife and, the episode, right, where he has the panic attack and he has to leave the field. And just what you said, like disguising it as a physical ailment, like, oh, I had some bad seafood. If Kevin had said he pulled a muscle, nobody would have questioned it.
Right.
But I think like movements are born from times in our lives where we know we could do what we've always done. But movements are formed for these moments where we decide, I'm going to do something else. Like Michael Jordan always said, if you always do what you've always done, you'll always get what you've always gotten. And when somebody with that platform says, I'm not going to sit quietly and suffer in silence anymore, all the people who are less empowered but look up to somebody like that can say, wait a second, there's a space for me here. Let's see where this journey takes us, right? And you read interviews with athletes now who say like, I wish I could have talked about this during my playing career, right? But now the zeitgeist has changed and now these are open conversations and they're helping so many people do so much more good. I mean, it's just so inspiring to see. All right. So Ellie, what do you do in all this other than just being just a general rock star of a human being? Like what,
I love this podcast. Everyone should get some information with Dr. Matt. You really have a gift for making people feel seen.
Oh.
Yeah. I mean, I think Sarah and I work together and one of our priorities is that we train educators in the model, in the program. And a big piece of the research I was describing earlier is the power of teachers bringing their own stories, their own life experiences, and just modeling for students that they're human beings, that they also have experiences where they feel sad or they get anxious or sometimes they get mad and happy and joyful and love and all the full spectrum of emotions. And we do trainings with educators where we teach teachers how to model vulnerability in intentional and age-appropriate ways. We usually do these trainings virtually. They take about an hour, and they're really effective at helping teachers to prioritize that relationship. We know that if the teacher has a stronger relationship with a student, the student will do better in their class. They'll feel differently about school. They'll feel differently about themselves and the subject. So we're really teaching them how to put the relationship first. Many of them really already do this in their classroom, and we're giving them permission, kind of a permission slip, to say what you're doing is evidence-based and you can be a human. You get to be a human now. You don't have to be a robot anymore. And I think for some of them, we watch it happen. It's beautiful. Like, it's also good for teachers' mental health. We did some research on this and presented it at the American Education Research Association, how much it helps teachers to get to be humans in the class too. And we also help them differentiate the lessons for all of their students. It's a priority of the fund that we're inclusive, that all students can access our lessons and really thrive. And so that's one of the roles that I play. And the other thing is that we really feel like it's important to prove that the curriculum really is having an impact. We want to make sure we're evidence-based for all students. And so we just finished a research project in partnership with UCLA that we're going to release soon. And we're always working on creating metrics to evaluate and inform design of new lessons and revision of old lessons. And it's important to us that we also get to hear from students. So we do qualitative research and we do focus groups and we do interviews. And we're always really, gathering data from the field. So that's another role that I get to play. And then we're also always writing new curriculum. We have a new student athlete program coming out that Lucia, our head of student athlete program initiative, is launching, and she did a beautiful job, and Sarah and I get to support her with that. And we have an international expansion. We bring the lessons to we're in 20 countries now. It's funny, we'll in the morning meet with one country early in the morning, and in the evening meet late at night with another country. It's an interesting kind of time zone dance that we get to do. So that's another role we play, is, building these international partnerships. And the curriculum has been taught to over 120,000 students worldwide, globally. So I always think about this. There's a line from Kevin's SB video where he won the SB award, the Arthur Ashe Courage Award. And he said in the video, if I could impact one student, and every time I hear that line, it makes me tear up a little bit, because the impact that he's had at this point is immeasurable. I mean, we've trained over 900 teachers and 120,000 students. But then those kids have relationships with their families, and they go out and model vulnerability there. And then they get, it's like a pebble in the ocean. It's like a ripple in the ocean. When I think about Kevin, he was that first pebble, being brave and courageous. And now I think it's immeasurable when we think about the impact. That was a long answer to your question, Dr. Matt. We talk about the fund.
We like long answers here.
Okay, good.
We are a team of rabbit holers, and we're just going to keep rabbit holes together, right? But seriously, you listen to a podcast and it's like, how are you today? Fine.
Yeah, you're right. That would be very boring.
Right?
That's right. We have a lot to say about the fund. That's right.
And that's why I think the intersection between private and group practice and bigger national, international organizations is so key, because you keep using the word inclusivity, you keep using the word accessibility. Jake and I talk about this all the time. It's that we do need to keep our lights on as a small private practice, right? But mental health support should not just be for the 1%.
Right.
People who are wealthy can afford mental health treatment sort of no matter what it costs. But if we are creating a vacuum of support for people who are mid to low income, low SES, countries that don't have the infrastructure, what we're doing is we're creating a system where more people have more access. But if you look at group disease modeling, as a society, we are only as healthy as our sickest people. So actually, only giving mental health access to the top 1% doesn't improve us that much as a society, right? Because if people are struggling, then we are still directing resources and time and energy towards helping people really struggling. We don't want to raise the ceiling. We want to raise the floor so then we can raise the ceiling.
You know, it's so interesting you say that because Kevin, another thing that he really gave us as a guiding light was that he was very lucky to have the support that he needed when he was searching out support, and he wanted to make that accessible. So one of the reasons why we got so lucky in the world of Zoom is we can reach all around the world. We can reach remote places. We can reach schools and community-based organizations that normally don't get this kind of support. And you were a part of this, Dr. Matt, when you and I first met, but it's really important to Kevin to have expert videos. So we have the best in the business, the best in their realms for psychiatrists and psychologists, and they film these 5-minute expert videos that are part of our lessons so that every student, all of these 120,000 young people that are watching the videos get those creme de la creme of the experts, and they get a little 5-minute psychology. I call them nuggets, but it's like a psychology lesson. And we are not therapy. We are very explicit with that on the website, but we see how therapeutic it is to bring forward experts in mental health and have them speak to students like human beings, like young adults. It's not a video we're grabbing from YouTube. It's psychologists and psychiatrists who are incredible, speaking directly to the Kevin Love Fund participants. So it's really cool.
All that sounds like just so incredible across the board. And like coming from a teaching background as well, like I love the fact that you're both educators first. You're not like anything else first. You're strictly educators first.
And we really wrote our lessons from that lens, you know, pretending we were in the classroom and what would we say? So we have a suggested script that Ellie and I fought over a lot in the beginning, Jake, because we were saying, well, this is what I would say. Well, this is what I would say. And so our suggested script had a lot of thought that went into it. Jake, what did you teach?
I taught humanities and philosophy for like 6th grade to 12th grade.
Oh, that's incredible.
Super fun, but very complicated.
That's a hard thing to teach.
I was a high school English teacher. We would have loved each other, Jake. We would have been comparing notes with each other.
We still definitely can. I'm just saying.
Yeah. Yeah, let's not stop talking. Jake's going to undersell him. He is, without a doubt, on the Mount Rushmore of teachers I've ever met.
I can see that.
Teacher is both a set of skills, but it's also some internal stuff. And Jake just has the best constellation of soft skills. So, I mean, our kids who didn't like learning this stuff were still drawn to him.
Yes.
And that's just, you know, it was a treat to watch it, which is why I had to have him. You know?
That's amazing. Yeah, that warmth radiates through the screen.
So, Jake, so like, you're right. Like the idea of our friends speaking as teachers to teachers, right? The education language here, right? As an educator, what about that approach helps bridge the gap for you from like the classroom to mental health? Like, where's the connect? How does that connection work for you?
You know, this is an interesting kind of, I think this is like a paradigm shift that's happening right now in schools where we're recognizing that, you know, teachers are not clinicians, right? They're not going to be providing therapy in the classroom. They don't have the time, and it's not a piece of their training. For me, there were a lot of threads in this research study I was a part of at the University of Colorado. And one of the threads that we looked at as a team was, how do students want us to support them? How do they want us to respond to their stories? You know, what does it look like to sort of be there with students when they're struggling or going through a difficult situation in their personal life? And what we found from this research was that what students wanted was a witness in their teacher, which is someone who doesn't try to change the way they feel, doesn't try to cheer them up or fix it, or let's look on the bright side, but just comes alongside them and sits with them in the emotion as a witness. And for me, what was so exciting about that finding is that all teachers can do that, and they can do it well, and they want to do it, right? I remember having students when I was a teacher who maybe lost a family member. What my heart wanted to do was to sit with them and say, I am so sorry. I'm here for you. Let's talk. You just talk. I'll just listen. I wish I could go back into my time machine and tell my younger self, that's okay to do that. But I didn't know. I thought a teacher is that What's the boundary there? Am I allowed to sit alongside them? Can I talk about their mental health? Can I be a witness to them? So I think that's the beauty of this paradigm shift that we're in the middle of right now, is that we get to say to teachers, part of your role can be a trusted adult who just is a witness to a kid that needs to share from their heart. And if the kid needs more than what you can give them, all teachers are mandatory reporters, right? So if it leaves the bounds of what a teacher can do, then they know, and we talk about this in our training, they can loop in the counselor or the school social worker, or then they bring in the extra layers of support beyond what they can do. But I think classrooms are spaces now where teachers get to kind of carve out that mental health support and guidance alongside the curricular content and the core academic goals. And research backed, we know that it will support those academic goals. So that's the good news. It's not like contrary to, it's woven together.
Hmm.
Another long answer. So a very good question.
I mean, yeah, I think for so long we've treated these things as separate, whereas I think treating them as interrelated is the solution, right? Like one of the trainings and talks I give a lot is gamifying social emotional learning, right? Like how any teacher can play some games that are going to increase resiliency, frustration tolerance, pro-social communication. And it's great to give at conferences because frankly, we've all been to conferences where you're like, you sat there all day, you're like, and I'm still sitting.
Mhm.
And I'm on my third cup of coffee and I'm still sitting.
Right.
This is gets up, we're moving, right? But I always open that by saying to teachers, like, I can't ask you to go to grad school and get another master's degree. I can't ask you to get trained as a mental health professional, but these are things anyone can do to increase the mental health of your classroom. And people really respond to that idea because, I mean, like, we ask so much of our teachers in the society, way too much, frankly, right? And I will not get on my political soapbox yet. We'll say,
Due time.
right? But like, we want to also deepen their bag of tricks,
Right.
right? Here are things you can do. Because then if you're sending that kid to the school counselor, but they're not at a 10 anymore, they're at a 7, then that kid's going to go get more help from the counselor, return to class faster. They lose less content. It's a win-win.
Yes.
Right. So
Yes.
we're really like integrating our resources, which is the point, I think.
Well, and I think you should add our digital platform, our lessons to your bag of tools that you give to students now. But I was thinking the same thing as you with teachers, and I've never talked about this in a podcast, but now is a time, and I also have 2 teenage daughters, but now is a time where teachers are not just delivering content, they're being trained to protect the lives of their students in certain scenarios and to protect them with water bottles or brooms or whatever they have in their classroom. Like my children will come home and say, we got trained in this today and we had a lockout drill or a lockdown drill. So if you're asking teachers to do that, then you're right. They need to also be in tune with their students' mental health. And if they're being asked to protect them on a physical level, they need to also be trained with tools on how to protect them emotionally as well. And our curriculum asks teachers to go first as the trusted adult, and coaches, by the way, and school counselors, whoever is working with the students, summer camp counselors, coordinators for nonprofit after school programs. We're asking these adults to be the trusted person in the classroom that's going to go first and share a personal story of their own. It should not be their very hardest thing that's going to leave them, as Ellie says, in a puddle on the floor, but in an age appropriate, intentional way. They are modeling vulnerability the same way that Kevin did by saying, hey, when I was younger, I went through this time, or just 2 years ago, I lost this person, or I've struggled with anxiety, or I have a neurodiverse mind and think differently and feel like I'm wired differently than the people around me. So, even Dr. Matt, hearing you say you had this like strong fight for justice when you were a kid, that makes me think of so many young people that I knew that were different than the young people around them because their feelings of right and wrong were so strongly embedded in their sense of self.
I mean, I remember growing up and like how like the 90s and early aughts ethos was this like too cool to care, like ironic detachment. And I fit in so poorly with that because like my default setting is give a shit. right? And like I never understood why it was cool not to care because there were so many things that were worth caring about. And it's incredible to see this generation, like Gen Z and Gen Alpha, who are like, no, no, no. Not only is it cool to care, we have to care.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if you read the news, the earth is dying and we can do something about that. I mean, so it's like we've gone back towards caring is cool, which means there are so many different entry points to the things we care about because there are so many things to care about. This conversation is helpful if you, from a neurodiversity perspective, from an education perspective, from a mental health perspective, probably some angles I haven't thought of. Because when you realize it's all this beautiful tapestry of helping kids.
Yeah.
That's it. That's what we're here to do. I mean, that's why amplifying each other's messages makes so much sense because we really are all on the same team.
Dr. Matt, you made me think about something that's sort of, I would say, different about our approach to talking about emotions in schools. And it's really aligned with what you were just saying. I especially see it. I have an alpha generation, I think. And I see it in his age group, and I also see it in the teens that are in my community. What, like you're saying, this deep caring, and that caring is so connected to emotions like anger and sadness, right? And I think sometimes people get the misunderstanding that emotional regulation means that you just like feel good all the time. You know what I mean? Like it's just being happy all the time. That's what it means. And that a program should just teach kids to like have like a consistent good feeling. And we always say to kids, like, your emotions are adaptive and they're information. We have a lesson about anger, and we say, like, anger is information. It's about something that you want to change in the world, and you have emotions, and their emotions are not a problem to solve. They're actually information. And we often say, look to how you feel to see sort of what the action is that you want to change in the world instead of trying to just get yourself back to this sort of happy set point. And then use your life and use your story the way that Kevin did. That's what's so inspiring. He vulnerably used his life and his story to like create change in the world, to sort of be that change you want to see in the world. And we really encourage them to do that. So that is something kind of special and unique about our approach when we talk about emotions.
And this is so aligned with good mental health practice. I mean, I tell my kids all the time, the goal of life is not to be happy. The goal of life is to be regulated, right? Which means my energy is matching the energy in this space I'm in right now. So if I'm at a Heat game and Kevin hits a 3 in the fourth quarter to complete the comeback, yes, go bananas, right? Like jump up and down, rip your shirt off, let's go, right? But if we are sitting in library and we are reading books, if you bring that same energy to the library, people are going to look at you weird. But so many kids are chasing happiness like it's a goal, not a state of being. And the problem with that is that the harder you try to be happy, the further you have to fall when you are inevitably not happy. Because there are so many feelings that aren't happiness, like neutral and calm and hungry and frustrated and sad and anxious and nervous and blah, 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 right? I remember actually, Jake and I worked at the same school for a while, and there was a kiddo who was sort of a frequent flyer between the two of us. And he'd be like, I'm usually happy in Mr. Noonan's class, but I wasn't happy today. I'm like, okay, was it a bad class? He's like, no, he just really made me think.
Oh.
So that's not a terrible thing. It is not as comfortable as happy.
Right.
That's right.
Right.
Like, absolutely. Like, Jake kind of like, destroyed his
sense of self.
Yeah, pretty much, Sorry about that.
There's the whole convince me you exist moment.
I love it.
But I was like, but it's not a bad thing that you were challenged today. The question is, what are you going to do with this feeling that you have right now? Are you going to let it swamp you? Or are you going to let it sort of acknowledge it like, oh, I'm feeling overwhelmed and a little existential right now. Then you did a great thing. You went to speak to the school counselor. We reset. And then you went back to class and he had a fine rest of the day. But like that always stuck with me. Like, I'm usually happy in this class, but I'm not. Like, but is that bad? It doesn't have to be bad, right? We always say that feelings are data, not directions. This is how I feel right now. It is just a statement of fact, right? Rather than like, I am sad, so I must cry.
I love that. Feelings are data. Let's get that down on a post-it note, Sarah.
Yes.
We always say, like, if the students finish the curriculum and the only thing they can remember, they're going to remember a lot because it's a memorable program. But if the only thing they can remember is, I'm not broken, you know what I mean? Like, I'm a human, I'm not broken, then we feel like that's a big success. You're not broken. Being a human is hard work sometimes. Like, it's hard for all of us to feel all those feelings. Yeah.
And especially for like all the kids too, if they're constantly being told specific things are like good or bad or right or wrong, and they have to adjust to what everybody else is telling them and social pressures, cultural pressures, what have you, and then they go through school and they don't really get that reinforced for them. So like I personally love what you guys are doing for all of them.
Hmm. There's a piece of the program we haven't mentioned yet, Sarah. I can't believe we haven't mentioned it yet, which is that the way students get to practice the skills or the tools is by applying it to their own lives in these creative activities. So it's not like a worksheet curriculum. And when you were talking about your bag of tricks and your games, Dr. Matt, I was thinking of these projects we do with students. So it's like photography and writing prompts that are like really creative and playful, graphic novels, make your own graphic novel to learn about empathy. So that's the other piece of it too, is that while they're on the road to like learning about their emotions, they're enjoying these like, creative, inventive.
Right. And our photography walks like get them out of their seat and get them walking around to take photos. And we have a music playlist lesson that kids love because it changes the energy in the classroom. We have some lessons that ask them to kind of drop to a more vulnerable place. And that sometimes you get to that uncomfortable feeling of sadness or missing someone or pausing to really feel the more delicate emotions inside you. And then teachers get to decide what order they want to do or what they want to do next. And you could do a music playlist that's a little bit more uplifting or a little bit more empowering. So there's lots of different ways. Like, Jake, I don't know if you still teach in the classroom, but you would love these lessons. So bring them in if you do.
I'm definitely planning on like adding them to my whole list of things to use.
Exactly. We're preaching to the choir, obviously, with the two of you, but this will just be more content. Another thing that makes me very proud of working at the Kevin Love Fund is that Kevin and many generous donors made it so that we can deliver this curriculum for free. And you talk about reducing barriers, that like shatters the barriers right there. And then teachers can pick and choose what works for them. So oftentimes I feel like we're giving this like golden ticket, like a Willy Wonka golden ticket. And to the educators that love this work and want to do more of it. And then we just get to give you this free content that's so flexible and so helpful to your classroom environment.
I have a question for you from that.
Yeah.
I'm thinking because I also have a couple of like students that I work with who are homeschools as well, and I'm curious, like, is your curriculum accessible for parents as well?
Very good question. We've just started talking about that as more families we see are homeschooling. Ellie, do you want to take that?
I just was going to say, for now, we mostly train educators in school settings, nonprofit settings, but we do have some homeschool partners. I do remember, Sarah, that we did some trainings with homeschool organizations. So we always say the kind of the secret of our success is our flexibility. People that work with youth who come to us, we really find a way to make it work. What did you want to add, Sarah?
I was going to say some projects could be done in small groups. The one thing that we make sure of is we don't give our password out and we don't give this digital platform to people who are making money from their services. So our mission is this like idea of giving for free to organizations that are doing their work for free. So I picture if a parent is homeschooling a group of kids and that's their job and they want to do it for this whole group of kids or their whole large family, it's usually works better. We have had a couple counselors, school counselors do one-on-one work, but usually the small group setting is what we kind of had in mind when we thought about it. And also when we first created this, we talked to our scientific advisors and we tried, you're right, homeschooling is kind of that gray area that we've been talking about a lot more, but we've tried to really keep this as a school setting curriculum at the start when we first created it, because going into parents and how parents would raise their children at home felt like a different lane. And we wanted to get really strong and good in our lane with educators, coaches, or with sports teams. We have a new student athlete program, like Ellie was saying. So we tried to kind of focus on that. But now, as the landscape changes and as more people are coming to us asking for support as the trusted adult being a parent, we are starting to adapt to that realm as well.
That's fantastic. So it's like in the works down the road a little bit.
Exactly. Great way to say that.
That's awesome. I know all of our listeners who are parents are going to be right on top of that when it's out.
Yes, yes.
Yes.
And also,
Were you going to say the same thing? We have one.
well, I don't know. I was going to say, if parents listen to this podcast and love it, Ellie and I do that all the time. If that's why I'm always pointing to her on my screen, like, you go first. If parents are listening to this podcast and love it, you can bring this to your child's school.
Yeah.
So all you have to do is reach out to us. I don't know if that's what you're going to say, Ellie. Have us connect to your child's school. We often have parents do that. And then we bring it to the kid's school. And the parent is like, score.
And we have one lesson that is forward facing that anyone can access. They don't have to come to a training or be a teacher, certified teacher or anything. They come to our website, kevinlovefund.org. At the very top of the screen, there's a lesson that's called a Spider-Man lesson. Boy, what a dream come true this partnership has been. We partnered with Sony, and there's a short film where Miles Morales has a panic attack, and he tries to hide it away. He goes up to his room, but it gets bigger and worse, of course, because the more you push feelings away, the bigger they get. And he's just like covered in spiders. And, it's a powerful metaphor. And he realizes, oh, I have to reach out for support. So he walks down the stairs and he turns to his dad and says, hey, Dad, you got a minute? And then they go out walking outside to talk about his, feelings. And then the students get a chance to do an activity, which is a storyboard. And there's a handout right in the lesson where they get to draw the picture and tell the story of a difficult experience from their life. And they get to see an actual storyboard that was created by the filmmakers from the film, the Spider-Man film. And they also get to watch an interview between Kevin Love and Jarrell Dampierre, who's the director of the film.
It was awesome.
Yeah.
He's incredible, who's also modeling vulnerability because he also struggles with panic attacks. So here's these two really cool guys talking about their own mental health so openly and just normalizing it, taking away that stigma. And so we did this in person with a bunch of students in Miami, and they all kind of got to do this activity, and then they wrote their stories. And as the students were running out the door, Sarah and I were like, of course, we're such teachers. We're like, talk to us. We're chatting with the kids about the experience. And I'll never forget it. One girl said to me, I've been sitting next to these kids in my school for 15 years. I had no idea that my friend lost their sibling when they were 4. I had no idea that this friend I've had in my life for, 15 years has a parent that struggles with mental health challenges. I had no idea that this kid had a panic attack when they lost the shot during the big basketball game, last year. Even the coach said they didn't know that kid had had that experience. So it was like, we're all together in this room with each other, and we all have these stories. All of us do. We all have stories that can be a bridge. That feeling of like, oh, I'm not alone. Oh, you had that happen too. It's like we all have these stories, but unless someone goes first, like Kevin did in his letter, unless someone shares their story first bravely, it takes so much courage. If they go first, that's the permission slip we need to breathe a sigh of relief and feel like, oh my God, I can tell the truth about something from my life that was hard. And then we get to feel connected. And now that relationship is deeper and stronger and more meaningful. So another very long answer. Parents can go to our website, kevinlovefund.org. They can email us for information about the curriculum. They can connect us with a teacher. They can get the Spider-Man lesson for free, easy, just one click away. So thanks for letting me give that little advertisement, PSA.
Great. Exactly. It's a great lesson for parents to do with kids, actually. That's great.
Great lesson.
Well, and I use it all the time. I mean, like, this is not a paid partnership, friends. Like, this is just real talk. Like, I mean, it's the perfect intersection of like geek nerd culture, right? Like superheroes, but it's also a kid of color, right? Which I think matters so much. And it's a role of a dad playing this, where it's like, men often don't like, where do I fit in mental health, right? I cannot tell you how many kids I've directed to that lesson.
That's cool.
And it's great homework from a therapy perspective for me to send to that family, say, listen, do this together this week. I'll see you next week. We'll talk about it. And it's such a tangible where we go from here thing that it really, I've seen it change lives. And it's a powerful thing to see that as part of somebody's mental health journey.
That's incredible. It's so great to hear that it helps you in giving homework out to the students you work with. I just love that. That makes me really happy.
Jake, you look like you're chomping at the bit, man.
No, it's just the mental like mental health homework in a
I
sense.
just want us to all go out and like, I feel like now, where do you guys live? I want us all to be friends. Like, are we hanging out tonight and having dinner?
That's right. Yeah. Let's go to lunch.
Where do you live?
I'm back and forth between Vermont and Philadelphia.
Nice.
Yeah, our team at NDC we are in Vermont, Philly, New Jersey, which is where I am. And then we've got team members in Georgia and Alabama.
Wow.
And we may be hiring somebody from Washington State soon. We are like, just scattered.
That's like us. That's like us. I was going to say you're doing a good job keeping it on the East Coast time zone, but you're about to blow that up. So
yeah, seriously.
We are not good with time zones. We are terrible with time zones.
We're all over the place. We have a staff member from every time zone, I think, in the country. We're working constantly is what that means.
Well, and it cracks me up because like I am like a very smart person. I've like made my career out of being a very smart person, but I'll be in Phoenix and I'll be like, what time is it on the East Coast?
Yeah.
When I'm meeting with someone, what day is this? I always feel like Bill Murray in Groundhog Day. I'm like vague, like walking around, like, what is going on? Like, and I'll just like, I get so anxious. I'll be like, hey, are we meeting soon? And my clients will text me back, like, yes. I'm like, good. When? In 10 minutes. Solid. And then I look and I've never really double booked somebody because I don't know what time it is because time may not be real. Webinars. It's fantastic.
Yes.
So, I mean, we'll all meet for dinner and drinks sometime, and then we'll just live record that, and that'll be the follow-up episode to this.
Okay, I like that.
But actually, this is a good segue for something that I think is important to say, which is that like if we don't take care of teachers and caretakers' mental health, if we don't prioritize it and care for it, then we're missing the mark. We have to allow teachers to also have opportunities to kind of honor their emotions. And there's so much research around like teachers who are self-regulated, who have strong social emotional learning skills are the best at teaching it to kids. And so that's another thing about our program that's really special is that because teachers are modeling the creative activities, they're doing them. And so it's like they're willing to do the creative project in order to model it for students. So there's a motivation there that's generous. And then they're like, oh, wow, I wrote this poem, I made this collage, and I feel so much better. But I was doing it for my students. Like, yeah, but you were doing it about your own life. So that's the beautiful thing about these trainings that we do, really. I just cannot say it more strongly. And that is like Sarah always says, it's like an hour-long gift to the teachers, a gift that they get to give themselves to care for their mental health. And then it kind of we pay it forward, they bring it into their classroom. So this is an open invitation to any educator, anyone that works with students. I mean, we work with faith-based organizations, athletic organizations, all sorts of teams. Anyone that works with youth, come in and come to our training and learn this method. Even if you don't teach the curriculum, you can put the method in your work with youth. I have a nephew who's in like a gaming after-school program at a library. And so, yeah, I'm thinking like youth advisors that just work with kids can come to our training and learn these practices. They're also trauma informed. They're based on research that's related to trauma informed. And they are really inclusive for all students who are neurodivergent. So I would really encourage anyone that works with kids to come. That was my PSA. That was my soapbox, Dr. Matt. You said you wouldn't get on your soapbox, and I did. Please come.
It's a good thing to come to, right? Okay. So we learned a lot. We shared a lot. We are going to definitely continue the conversation. But as we start to wrap this up, what we're going to ask you guys are our two final questions. So, Jake, do you want to start?
Who wants to go first?
Ellie.
Okay, Ellie's going first then. What's your favorite word and why?
Oh, that's so funny what came up. Okay, my favorite word, I think, is maybe because of the meaning of it, which is the word, do you know, I mean, everybody knows this word, but I love the word serendipity. Like, although I believe in like a different version of serendipity, serendipity is like, it was a happy coincidence or whatever. But I also believe like in the beauty of like a random meeting, like you meet someone and you're like, wow, but you also sort of feel like, were we maybe like meant to meet? Or do you know what I mean? Like there's like a beautiful, that feeling that you get when things like fall into place. I felt that when I met Sarah, I would say.
Oh, that's so nice. That's so true.
That like chaotic happenstance kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Serendipity. What's your favorite word, Sarah?
The word that came up first for me, I don't know if it's my favorite, because that's a great question. I never thought of that, is connection. Just because, like, I thought of our work, I'm thinking of my daughter in college, who's a freshman in college, like finding her way in the world now. I thought of my 10th grader, and I'd say the word connection. Like, I think that's kind of the key to getting us all through wonderful days and tough days.
I love that. And then when you like put those two words together, it's like it's almost this a sense of like every connection you have could be serendipitous. Like maybe none of them are not, like maybe all of them have this like beautiful potential.
I also love the word opportunity, if I could have a second. I love the word opportunity because I feel like when you're feeling panicked or scared or like a crisis moment, to be reminded that that's also an opportunity.
Yeah.
To me, I've always really been drawn to the word.
Sarah really lives that too. Like she does. She's like good at remembering that. I feel like I'm in the middle of it and I forget and I can turn to Sarah and be like, oh, maybe this is. Yeah, she's good at helping see the bigger picture. I have one more word too. You ask a bunch of teachers about their words.
I tell you words now for 2 hours. I hope that's okay.
Because the first word it's like the first word that came up for me, I didn't want to say because I was like, oh, is that have enough like meaning to it? The word that popped in my head right when you said your favorite word question was compassion on two fronts. One is like, I think the way we'll heal the world is by having compassion for ourselves. We have a great lesson in the curriculum that's about like how to have compassion for yourself when you make a mistake. And I think like, man, if I could rewind the clock and have known that, what that would mean. Like if we take good care of ourselves, how that helps us care for each other. And of course, compassion, the idea of like, what does it look like to really try to see the world from someone else's perspective and recognize that we're all doing the best that we can. And can we like give each other like that care and nurturing that we all need when we're struggling? Can we give that to each other? Yeah, along with connection is the way through. Anything. 4 words.
4 words.
We'll just put them all together.
Jake, like I cannot ask a second question. They take too long to answer.
Wasn't that the prompt? You said, could you give us 4 of your favorite words?
4 each, actually.
Yeah. Jake, why?
Just keep going. 10 each. It's fine.
Was that the only prompt or there were more and we spent 7 minutes on that one? There's more.
We do usually ask another question, but you know what? We're just rolling with it. We're just living that improv life right now. Okay, so lightning round. Ellie, I'll start with you on this one. If you could have one superhero on speed dial, who would it be?
Oh my gosh. It's so funny because I actually dressed as my family. We were all superheroes this year for Halloween, but I don't want to just grab one. Sarah has to go first because I need more time to think.
If you want me to go fast, I'm going to change the question. This is how my brain works. If I could have one superpower that I can answer quickly, it would be transporting myself from place to place like that. Because I have people I love all around the world and I want to spend more time with those people. So transportation, that's my answer, even though that wasn't the question.
That's a good one.
It's like Nightcrawler in a sense.
Yes.
That I allow it. I'm here for that.
Thanks.
I feel like I don't know enough about the superheroes to like answer that question with like the level of like gravity that I want to give it. I will tell you this. This is what I will say. My son really likes Spidey and his amazing friends. And so I made my husband dress up as Hulk and I was Wonder Woman and I bought this Wonder Woman costume. I will say the transformative power of doing dishes in a cape and that crown she has, and she has these like these hand things, like dressed in the full costume. The way I was able to like wash dishes that day, I thought, why am I living my life in regular clothes? Like, what a missed opportunity.
I'm going to Amazon a Wonder Woman costume right after this podcast.
It was incredible. And I actually would wear a costume most times if it was acceptable. Because my other costume I really love is Sarah knows I always dress up as Mary Poppins for Halloween. That's another costume that makes you into your best self. Like you really rise to the occasion with that parrot umbrella in your hand.
It's a wonder why so many neurodivergent people love Halloween.
Yeah.
Yes.
So fun to dress up and get to play. It's play, right? It's so fun. Yeah.
So, you know what? I never do this, but I'm going to plug the social media. If you were inspired by doing chores in capes, shoot us a picture, tag us because I want to see it. Because I'll tell you this, I have a Batman onesie and I'm absolutely going to cook dinner tonight as
Do it. Oh,
I really like this. I'm not a social media person either, but this sounds fun. I'm ordering my Wonder Woman costume right now. I'm going to walk around.
da-da-da.
right. Love it.
You'll send us a picture, we'll put it up.
I will say this, it was so cold that Halloween. I live in Wisconsin, and my husband was not willing to dress full Hulk. He only had those, I got him those hands. And as we were walking around, he was like, these are incredibly warm. He was like, what's the over under on me wearing these as my winter gloves? I'm like, not for driving. Anything else. I was like picturing him like, you know what I mean? Like at the playground with these like it's like half transformed to Hulk just with the hands.
That is amazing. Okay, well, we're clearly having all the fun. For once in my life, I'll be the adult in the room and say, it's time to settle up. So, we've talked a lot about KLF and the amazing work you guys do. If you could leave our listeners with one term, one parting shot, what would it be?
Oh, I think I'm gonna cry, Sarah. I'm gonna cry.
I'm just going to say try these lessons because if you're a follower of this particular podcast, we're already friends. You're going to love these creative activities. You just reach out to our website and email us, and we will set up a time to train you. It's 1 hour, and then you have access to the digital platform, and you will love these lessons. And Jake and Dr. Matt, you both need to do them, clearly.
And the reason that question made me emotional is because I think what I said earlier, I think Kevin's message, I mean, what he's done to like normalize talking about mental health, like what I want everyone to feel like in their heart, in their bones is that you are not broken if you are having a hard time. You are not broken if you're feeling strong emotions. There's nothing wrong with you. Being a human is hard sometimes, and you're not alone. Reach out, talk to someone about it, and what you're going to find is that you're not alone. That is what I think Kevin's message was to people, that they're not alone. And that is what our message is. So I want everyone to know that in their heart. And thank you for asking it because I got to feel a feeling of tears.
Well, it's a beautiful message to wrap us up on. So, yes, none of us are alone, and things are hard. And as we navigate this incredibly challenging world, community lifts us up. It helps us do better. It brings us joy. The only way we're going to get through all of this is together. And there are platforms and systems and supports and resources that we may not even know are out there, but now we do, right? And when we gather together, we support each other and we all end up doing a little bit better for it. That's the point of this podcast. And that's the point of KLF. And that's the point of all the other beautiful organizations we get to partner with and work with. So if we at the Neurodiversity Collective can be a part of that journey too, we are honored to share that with you. So for all of us here at NDC and Nerding Out on Neurodiversity podcast, this is one of the most inspiring and enjoyable episodes we've ever done. And it was a treat to share this with you. We send all the love and support out to you guys. Thanks for trusting us with your time, and have a great day. Take care. Nerding Out on Neurodiversity is brought to you by Dr. Matt Zakreski and the team at the Neurodiversity Collective. To learn more about the Neurodiversity Collective or to be a guest on the podcast, please visit our website at www.theneurodiversitycollective.com/podcast. Audio and production by Jake Noonan. Show your support by subscribing, leaving a 5-star review, and telling your friends about us. Our Instagram and social media handles are at #NoonPodcast, NOON podcast. Your support is appreciated and keeps us going. All discussions presented on this podcast are strictly for informational purposes, awareness, and understanding. The advice presented is not and should not be considered to be therapeutic in nature. If you have any mental health questions, please contact your provider. All rights reserved.
You're listening to the Geekscape Network.